Hello everyone and welcome back to a car profile where, if you haven't already guessed, we're looking at the Mercedes AMG GT3 Evo. Now I call it Evo, it doesn't specifically have it in the name, but it is an evolution of the previous model that did first exist in terms of the racing world. It is a real life car, of course, and you will see this car out racing as well. It has a 6.2 litre V8 engine, so it's got a beastly sound. It really does have a beastly sound, especially in real life. Front-engined rear-wheel drive, but in fact it's more front mid-engined rear-wheel drive, and I'll get onto that shortly. 6 gears. This car was first introduced in 2019, of course, in Gran Turismo 7. It's represented as a 2020 model. Chassis improvements overall over the predecessor has meant that it is performing better than it ever has done in the GT3 class. Many race victories across this model, original and the evolution, including the Nürburgring at 24 hours, as we jump to that in the background. It is built for private teams, and in Gran Turismo 7, the current BOP is 498 brake horsepower and 1,345 kilograms across all 3 BOPs. If you do like these car profiles, do subscribe to the channel to stay in touch with all of the latest ones as we jump to the low-speed BOP test. And I know you're asking, where's the soundage? I was asking that same question when I came to edit this, because unfortunately the sound isn't there. And I can't play without the sound, and it doesn't record without the sound. So very unusual, bit of a file error there, but at least I've got the footage for you. So, we do a low-speed BOP test first of all. So, the low speed is at Laguna Seca. And as we head towards turn 1 then, we are just down there on that Porsche 911, under half a tenth, or sorry, just half a tenth of a second down there on the Porsche 911. Now, this car, with it being front mid-engine, should I say, it's very good in terms of handling, and that's how it's been set up in Gran Turismo 7. It is unbelievable at handling, I will say that much. It really, really, really is so good. Also quite good here at the kink as we continue on through. Now, I was going to put a bit of music on the background, but I've done some retests of the ones that aren't laps, essentially, where they're just static tests of the fuel and tyres. So sound will come shortly, and I do apologise again for this. Quick down here, the corkscrew, then what we're looking at, 5 thousandths down. It's so close to beating the Porsche 911 then, as we go through the left-hander and towards the end of this one. We are looking at a potential new leader then in faster slaps as we go towards this final corner. Now, do remember, we look at faster slaps with the video footage, but overall we look at Optimums because, as you'll there, slight mistake, and the last corner then, is that going to hamper our faster slap? That is the question, as we get a 21.2, so just off the Porsche there. But because of that mistake, we may have done a better, and we have done a better last sector previously, so then we look at that. The Optimum gives us a better overall idea of where the car sits in the GT3, the Group 3 category. Let's have a look at the overall results then. And look at that. It is P1, nearly the first car into the 120s. A 121.037, 1.5 tenths up on that Porsche 911. And I can see it. I can really, really, really see it. It's very much a handling car, so it very much should be up there. I can tell you now, it's the first car ever I've tried where the first sector was a 0.6 in terms of Optimums. I got a 0.6 with this car. It's unbelievable. And all those sector details will appear on the website soon, I promise. It's just been very busy at the moment. We go to the medium speed BOP test then, where we're at Suzuka. So again, if you're new to this, we do low, medium and high speed. The medium speed is Suzuka because that's what Gran Turismo classify this track as, a medium speed BOP. So first sector, we know it's a handling car based off the Laguna Seca lap. So what can we do here in Sector 1? Now, I did struggle a little bit, to be honest here. Did suffer with a bit of oversteer with this car. When it's up to speed, mid-corner, it's great. But slower down, it does struggle a little bit with some oversteer. And we're up here on the Toyota Supra then, which is the fastest car currently at Suzuka. Nearly 1/10 up on that Toyota Supra then as we head towards Tidgney 1. Now, this car, being front mid-engined, is very good over the curves. You can chuck it in. It's not really impacted by it. As we go to the second Tidgney, and through there we go in second gear here. I did juggle between second and third gear as we continue on. We're still up here on the Toyota Supra. We are still up then, heading towards the hairpin then. And this is where we go into more of a speed section of Suzuka. We've gone from handling, now it's into the speedy section. So we'll see what happens here then. So as we head towards Spoon, we leave the hairpin. Again, it was a mixture of choices there. You really do have to rev this car a little bit to get the maximum out of it as we continue towards Spoon. Now, I did struggle a little bit on Spoon. It did suffer a little bit of understeer. So this car, as you accelerate, it does like to spin the rear wheels up a little bit. It does help the handling a little bit. But I did suffer a little bit of Spoon. Not too bad on this lap, which is probably why it was the fastest lap then as we continue on out of here. Now, we were up on the Toyota Supra. What are we going to be when we get to this sector? I can't remember how I've edited this, so let's find out together then as we get towards that sector. Oh, 1.5 tenths down then, and as we go through 130R, 151. Oh, the fastest car through 130R that I've ever done. It was unbelievable. Through every time I did it, you could do it flat in this car. If you nail it just right, you can do it flat. 130R flat is the only car I've done so far where it's possible to do that. As we head towards the line then, we absolutely nail 130R. What's going to be at the line? 1.5 tenths down then on the Toyota Supra. Hasn't got the fastest lap, but does it get the best optimum lap? That is the question. Again, 130R, 1.5 watt. That is unbelievable speed there. This car, very good handling car. Let's have a look at then. It comes home in P5, so it didn't really improve that much then. So one thing I will say is it does suffer in terms of speed. And there is actually a new table I'm showing you later on in this video, which will highlight the speed differences between these cars. We go to the second page then. Obviously, it's not down here because it's a very good handling car, this Mercedes AMG GT3 Evo car. It's really, really, really good. I couldn't believe it. Well, you know, when I did beat the metal with this car at Yamagiwa, it was so good in the handling sections. But I will say, compared to Yamagiwa, it does suffer a little bit with some bumps. And I'll talk about this as we go to Bathurst as the high-speed bop test. So obviously, turn 1 is quite a critical corner here at Bathurst to get right. And it did suffer a little bit there with oversteer. Not this time on this lap because I'd managed to understand the car and how I can correct that as we continue on through. So we did suffer a Suzuka in the speedy section. Are we going to suffer here as we head towards the end of Sector 1? That is the question. And it's a 19.2 there. 19.2. We're way down there on time. 1.5 tenths down as we head in towards the right-hander then. And we're going to continue on through. Very good in this right-hander, actually. I will say that. Extremely good. And as we go up the mountain, we're going to see that handling come into play then as we go into this left-hander. Looking to slow it down. Go a bit wider than usual there as we bring it back nice. Accelerate out the corner. Suffer a tiny bit of oversteer. Nothing major. And coming up here, this is a corner. This car can do it flat. Do I do it flat this time? I do indeed. I risk it for a biscuit. Nailed it through there as we go to this little bit of a dip then through here. And I nearly did this flat. No, I did do it flat. There you go. I did do it flat as we go over the crest of the hill then. And look at the speed we're carrying here. You can see how much of a handling car it actually is then. As we head down here, then are we up? No, we're not. We're down then by 2 tenths. So the speed is lacking. It's very good at handling, but it's suffering with the speed a little bit then as we go through here. No problems at the dipper whatsoever really there as we head down here for Forest Elbow. Slowing it down nicely then. Now going through here, I did suffer a little bit on exit with this. Oh, hello. Oh, big oversteer. That's why we take the Optimum then. I did suffer a lot there. You saw the suffering again. Just with that low down speed where the downforce isn't coming into play. Remember, it's got a big wang, this car. You know, the wing is huge as we go towards the end of the set. They're still 2 tenths down, so I suspect we could have been potentially up there on the M6 then if we didn't have that huge moment as we go into the braking zone then. Very slow in terms of top end there as we get towards the braking zone. And I'm actually using that speed marker, that speed zone there into the braking as a marker for top speed. And we're going to look at that later on and see where these cars fit. So it's 168, I think it was, that I saw there. As we go through this last corner, again, suffers a little bit on exit, so I have to be cautious there. Putting down the power as we head towards the line then. What do we get here? 202.1. We're 3 tenths down on that BMW M6. Not too bad to say it's a handling car, but it doesn't have the speed to really help it get any further up the leaderboard. Again, Optimums is what we look at, and of course we did make that big mistake as we came out of Forest Elbow, so it does go down into the 201.9s there, so it's very much up there with some of the best cars in this class. Obviously the Toyota Supra is unbelievable here, but the Porsche did well there as well. You know, it's got a bit more speed though, I think, but we'll see that later on. Here are some of the cars that do struggle. As we know, the MR cars do struggle. FMR cars, like this one, definitely don't struggle, according to this one. We do have its older brother to do at some point, but we'll see what we do with that one. Remember, you can vote for your car in the comments, so do let me know in the comments. But we're going to go to a fuel test now where we have engine noise again. Hurrah! Because I redid this test because it's a nice and easy test to redo, and I can tell you it's the exact same results, and that's all that matters with this. As long as the results are the same, very hard to do exactly the same, but they were the same, it's all good. So here we go then. We've got maximum RPM. If you've got questions about the maximum RPM, check out the description. Lots of comments about it. I've answered them in the description. Quarter shift, because that's the best way to fuel save, is to short shift. Fuel map 3 is the last resort. So we get to the 2,000 meter line, which is where we log the time it takes us to get there, and also the fuel level that we get there with. So 53%, 25.3. What this sort of does, it tells us the performance when we fuel save as well, and we can see where the fuel saving is in terms of the performance, and that's why we log the quarter shift, which is 10% there. 10% to save there on a quarter shift. And what's that? I can't see because it's much more smaller on my screen there. Looks like a 0.6 or a 0.8 there in terms of the 25. So losing, what, half a second there or something like that. And then that's, oh, bang on a second there, it looks like, as we get to 70% then. So it does save quite a lot of fuel when you do short shift this, and even with fuel map, it short shifts, but we'll have to see how that looks in comparison to the performance of the cars, especially versus other cars as well, and see where it sits in the overall leaderboard then. So let's have a look at these fuel results for you. First up is the maximum RPM, as we look here, it's not even in the top 10 there, so we know performance-wise, flat out, it does struggle in terms of top speed. We can see that with this performance, and we can have a look where it sits with fuel. I think it was 53 from memory. Yes, it was. So, you know, it's not the greatest in terms of fuel usage when you're going flat out. So keep that in mind. You know, it doesn't have the performance there, and it still uses a lot of fuel. Keep that in mind, and we do know we have to rev this car anyway as we go to the next. So a quarter shift, it goes up a little bit then. So it comes up there. So the torque, the low down grunt, so it does represent the engine very well there. It does pull it up a little bit in performance. Saves, well, it saves 10 there, 63%. It is around about where it should be then, because these cars on 65, they're a bit slower there. So it is going up that leaderboard then. The low down grunt of this engine really bringing it to the forefront. So I wonder whether it's the downforce that's causing the issue there in terms of top speed. I'm not too sure. As we goes up another position and up into P9. So it's a huge amount of fuel, similar to the Alfa Romeo then, in the 70s there at that point, very similar to the BMW M6. So a car that can really save fuel when it needs to and still maintain a fairly decent performance there. In fact, the performance increases with that fuel saving. So if you have a fuel saving race, the AMG may be the car to go to. It really may be the case. And as well, if you think about fuel saving, it's a better handling car. It'll have higher apex speeds. Therefore, you actually can save even more fuel because you're not going to be revving it as much to try and get back up to speed. But keep in mind with that car, very sneaky car, that one, I will say, is definitely going to be up there. We're going to the tyre wear test now for this Mercedes-AMG GT3 Evo, and what we do first is the oval test. This was our original test essentially, and this requires very little human interaction. It's just flat out keeping it low down on the oval, and we just log the amount of time it takes before the first tyre wears out. And that's all this is really, seeing where the first tyre wears out, and that's literally how the car reacts in terms of tyre wear before we have human interaction. We do have a second tyre test we also do, but we'll jump to that in a second. So we're getting closer and closer and closer now as we get to the final 10 seconds here. And what we essentially do is we add up all 3 laps. I say 3 laps, we've done 2. We're on our 3rd lap now as we continue on round. It's not wearing down very quickly there. There we go. It's just worn down there. So we take the 49.642, the 52.872, and the 16.720. We combine them together and we get an overall time. But before we have a look at that leaderboard, what we're going to do is jump to the second tyre wear test, where we go to Sardinia Layout C in reverse. So this is a very similar test, but this time we have human interaction, we have braking, we have more corners, we have accelerating. So we're going to have a look at how this handles itself. And what we've done here, we've already advanced to lap number 5. You didn't even see that merge. It was that clever. So we go to lap 5 then. And we've still got tyre wear left here. So this car is actually doing quite good in the grand scheme of it then as we go into the right-hander. So we're already ahead of quite a lot of cars from memory as we continue on through here. Now, I will say this about this car. With tyres gone, this car can still do laps. It's not quite as fast, but it was around about a second slower than my fastest lap at the time in terms of 2 tyres gone versus no tyres gone. They're very interesting. So if you do struggle with high tyre wear races and you don't want to pit, this also could be the car for you. It's a very good all-rounder, this car, I must say. As we continue on then, we're looking for when that tyre's going to wear out then in towards the braking zone here. So we start lap number 6 then as we go into this right-hander. Oh, there we go. So it's just mid-corner there. It's just stopped. So what we do again is we add up all those lap times, so all 5 laps plus this 6th one where we're at now with the 7.897, and that gives us a combined time in order of how long those tyres lasted there. And we've got 2 tyres going. I did complete the next lap, as I say. It was around a second slower than the 52. So yes, it's slower, but it can still manage itself quite nicely because it's so good at handling. So at the oval test, it comes home P7. It's about average, to be honest with you. Quite low down in terms of an FR car or FMR car in this situation, but even so, it's quite low down. And being FMR, that's why both tyres are wearing on the left-hand side on the circuit one, because obviously the weight is more in the middle of the car. It means it's spread over the tyres more evenly. That's how tyre wear works, mainly in Gran Turismo. It's where the weight is distributed in the car. Then we look at power and wheel spin, etc. On the circuit test, I do need to retest some of the other cars. It's P2, so it does jump up the board there, and it's because of the handling. I will say it's because of the handling. You're not trying to overturn as much. It just turns nicely. Of course, with a higher speed, you're not braking as much. And speaking of speed, here's the top speed test then. So this is from Bathurst then. Where is it on the leaderboard? It is not there at the moment. So you can see there, it's low down in terms of top speed. The lower down a car is here, it is going to struggle at Bathurst, and that's the whole point of highlighting it there. So it comes home there in P15, and we can see that there. So very interesting in terms of top speeds, second to last. So we know it's a handling car, but it's a very, very good handling car in the grand scheme of it. And look at the time. It's up there with the Meta cars. This is a very strong car. Very, very strong car. Very much in with the Meta cars there. Obviously, it's not quite at the Porsche level, but it's with the Toyota and the BMW. So that AMG Mercedes AMG GT3 Evo is a car I would highly advise you choose. A very good beginner car, I would say, that car as well. Very much up there with a Porsche. Can get confidence very quickly. And that's what I found doing these tests, is that instantly I'd get a good lap, but then I'd start to struggle to improve on that lap because it was instantly there. Now, I do apologize again for the sound issues. Hopefully, they will be rectified going forward. I've no idea why it happened. But if you did enjoy this video, do give it a like and do subscribe to the channel to stay in touch with all the latest car profiles. If you've missed any, we've got an entire playlist in the comments. Sorry, not in the comments, in the description. But we do have the last... we do have the last car profile there. I will get my words out if you want to check that out. Or the Beat the Meta this car was involved in. But once again, a big thank you for watching. I really do hope you enjoyed it. And I hope to see you in another video or live stream again very soon.